This week's edition of the Sunday Power Chat with Takia and Nancy. We are excited to be here with you today.
Woo-hoo.
Woo! It is Super Bowl Sunday for some. It is simply a blessed Sunday for some, and it is a great day if you are able to hear this, breathe air, and feel your heart beating. Uh,
Heck
so,
yeah.
so what's been on my heart this last week actually has just been being able to speak from your heart. And I have an intention to post about this more. But I just know that for so many people, being able to speak from their heart is a limiting factor. Not being able to do so is a limiting factor in their lives. And I know for me, I know firsthand what it was like to not be able to do that, to feel
Hmm.
stifled, to feel like your voice was stuck, to feel nervous, not be able to speak honestly exactly the way you were feeling, or find words, or self judging so that you just didn't even attempt to use words. You know, um, so, I think that it's a worthwhile endeavor to begin to walk in the direction of this ability, to really be able to stand rooted in your own 2 feet, in your personal power, and speak from your heart what it desires, to listen from that same place, to listen from a place of open-heartedness and willingness to
Hmm.
receive. This just makes all of our relationships more rich, including the one we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
um, so just to give you can you relate, can you understand what I'm saying, Nancy? Is this
Totally do. Yeah. And I've been there enough times that, and you know that there's no, not necessarily outside force standing right next to you that's making you not speak. There's no one standing there saying, if you speak, I will push you down. But it's so overwhelming. It's as if there is a person there saying not to speak. And then you're right. It holds you back from such a deeper relationship with all that. And I enjoy the fact that when you brave it, the relationship you have with yourself um, really resonates and radiates on out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the what first, and then maybe we'll be able to touch a bit on the how.
Mm.
So I know for me, when I was growing up, I was very much in my head. I had a lot of conversations in there that never got spoken into the world.
Mm.
I had interactions with people from which I left the conversation still having the conversation to myself with things unexpressed. So if you've been there and you understand. Some people may still be in that space.
Mhm.
So I know part of my nature as a Virgo is to have this analytical nature about my mind. However, I think also part of that overthinking and analyzing of conversation, looking for nuances within in spoken language and also body language to actually find the true meaning of what someone's saying all the time is also very much a response to trauma. And so a lot of times when we have had instances in our lives where we were perhaps put in a situation where we were diminished for having offered our voice into a space,
Mhm.
shamed about our voice, or just any situation where we felt like after having shared heartfully, we had some kind of a traumatic experience, whether it was shame that we begin to carry, or feeling like our voice didn't matter, or like we were unworthy, or something along those lines. Right?
Right.
And so then it makes you fearful then to do it again, right? Because every time you're about to do it, you recall the time that you had the bad experience.
Yeah.
So I know for me, it was a process, and I don't necessarily hear the process talked about often. Where you go from, being in situations that are stifling, and you feel stuck, and you feel like you don't have a voice, or that or unable to express yourself fully,
Mhm.
right? I
Right.
know. I know. Even in art, I write poetry, and I've always written, and so that was always a kind of a safe haven where I would write, but I wouldn't share it with anyone. No one ever got to see that. And if
Mm.
I had something really intimate to share with someone, it wasn't able to stand in the same room with them and share it. It was either a letter that got dropped, in a pocket or left on the table. But
Yeah.
slowly there was a progression where, okay, I went from a letter on the table to a letter handed to the person, and then I left. And then it was, being able to stay in the room while they read it. And then it was being able to read it to them. And then finally, I believe I arrived at the ability to actually speak it to
Right.
them. And then furthering that experience was the ability to then speak it and also be in my power about it. Like, so speaking it and still having misgivings and worrying and all that stuff is one thing. But then speaking it from a place of just, look, this is who I am. This is what I feel. This is what I have to say. And, I'm saying it mostly just to be fully expressed. And how you feel about it isn't necessarily of consequence. Not that I don't care about you. However, me being fully expressed is the best thing for both of us.
Hmm.
And I wish that for you too, in this space, for you to be fully expressed. But it's not the actual words that really mean the most to us. It's the feeling heard, or just getting the energy out of us, so that um, so that we feel empowered, like we did our best to say what our heart had to say.
And you're right. It's a progression. It really is. I think for most people that you don't jump from feeling as though you can't deliver what you're feeling in person by verbally just off the cuff speaking it,
Hmm.
to all of a sudden speaking it and being like okay with the outcome, or not looking for an outcome, just looking for it's out there and I've said it, and that's a long stretch for most of us,
Hmm.
especially if you're in the beginning of your journey. And when you said trauma, one of the things I was thinking about is I remember the first time I heard trauma and thinking, well, I didn't have a traumatic experience, and thinking it had to be some astronomically. We've covered this before in a previous discussions. You can go back and check it out. But in trauma and traumatic experiences don't have to be monumentally traumatic, but to your soul, to your psyche, to your self. Sometimes those subtle things that people have said to you in the past was traumatic to yourself. It was something that just shut you down or made you feel all the things you said, less than, not worthy, or you've embarrassed the family, you've embarrassed your friends, or you've whatever it is, right? The shame gets put on you, and to jump from that to being fully expressive it's a long stretch. So those progressive steps that you make each and every step of the way
Hmm.
is important, because at each step you start to realize that you are safe and that it is okay, and it actually opens you up to what comes with it.
So let's talk about the before, right? So
Sure.
it's that we feel limited in our expression, thus we have a limited experience in the world, right? So
Mm,
our relationships get limited because we don't let anyone in fully, right? And so when we feel are fearful about saying what's on our heart, we generally don't have people that are close to us because we don't want them to know our heart,
right.
right?
Sure.
And then also it determines what chances we take, as far as the job that we'll apply for, or the business that we'll start, or the art that we'll make. All of those things become shrunken. That's the word, shrunken in their ability to be shared when we are shrinking. And I know, and also, so the nuances here are also to do with the various aspects of our whole life. Like, so, for example, in the area of career, perhaps that's where you feel the most stifled, and an inability to share, or fear of taking chances for whatever reason. But perhaps you have a very solid marriage and you have intimacy, and it's wonderful because you found someone to share your life with. So we aren't always in perfect balance, or have this thread of freedom that runs through every aspect. Likely
Mm,
we all have an area of life where we feel more free than another. And so I'll give you a prime example. So I actually was able, as I grew and matured and increased my consciousness and just came more into who I am, was able to then find freedom in sport and bring the essence of that feeling of freedom and expression into my life.
I love
And
that.
that was really meaningful. It's the same thing as kind of the essence of the mindfulness and the energy of meditation or yoga that we desire to bring into our lives on a daily basis. That's what it's for. So I use sport very similarly.
Mm.
And however, I had a new experience that caused me to have to stretch. So I remember up until a point in my like romantic life, I had dated basically based on proximity, friendships that kind of unfolded organically, or I heard that someone had expressed interest to someone else, and we ended up getting connected. But it was never me actually heartfully choosing someone and pursuing that choice.
Mhm.
Right? So there was a level of safety in being chosen.
Right.
And so I noticed that pattern. This is several years ago, many years ago. It can't be too many because I'm not that old, but it's enough that
Yep.
I feel very much in alignment with who I am solidly. And enough time has passed where I can talk about it without any emotion, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
something that was part of my journey. And so I know that there was a time when I realized when I was standing in front of someone that the only way we were going to connect is if I initiated it. Even though I could kind of tell that there was mutual attraction, I needed to initiate it or it wasn't going to happen. And I tell you what, it was like starting over. It was, it was, it was so scary. I remember it like it was yesterday. I can remember the
Right.
feeling. And I remember, you know, kind of the thought process. There was always some reason why I shouldn't do it this time. But I kept, putting myself in the position to be around them because when I first met them, my heart was like, yes, yes, like big yes in my chest for
Mhm.
yes, like that you need to. So I was like, all right. So I kept putting myself in the position to develop the relationship, um, but they didn't ask either. So I didn't take ownership at the time, and now I take complete ownership because no matter what was going on for them, it was me that has always been in complete control of my happiness and completion of the answer to the call of my heart. So no matter what was happening for them, I always had the opportunity to ask.
Right.
And so after, when once I realized that that was an issue and it wasn't something that was going to happen by just keep showing up, but
Right.
I actually just took time away from dating and really just allowed myself to sink more deeply into this love for myself that was allowing me to acknowledge the fear I had of rejection and just really love myself into my courage, right?
Mm.
Because it was something probably that happened before I can even remember that set that seed of fear in me, because it wasn't some event that happened that caused me not to be able to just say, hey, I like you, do you like me? But do you ever hear anyone say that? People play games, they approach
Right.
they try to be wise and do wisecracks. They try to be funny. They do whisper down the lane, can you be my wingman, and I'm gonna try to get this girl, or I'm trying to get this guy. And like, who just walks up and says, hey, I'm attracted to you and I would really like to know you. Would you like to know me? Like, no one says that. No
Right.
one just tells the truth about what they're feeling. But that's where I live now. So anytime I get a yes in my chest, I'm just gonna take the steps toward,
Love
bringing it into
this.
my life. I'm just going to say the words that are true.
Mhm.
And and it's only because I'm now able to let go of the fear of rejection or judgment. I don't even care who hears it. I will ask if I have a yes in my chest. The more important thing to me is my freedom, is my soul satisfaction is far more important than any judgment or any
Oof.
making fun of or any because people will. I'm sure if I did that in an open space, I walked into somewhere. I mean, there will be people looking, judging. I don't.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because being brave isn't for anyone else. It's for you.
Let that sink in, right? Being brave isn't for anyone else, it's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you're right. I mean, it's the need to follow what your heart says, the need to follow what your internal message says, which is your yes, right? You hear that
Mhm.
yes, and it's more it's more important for you to respond to the yes
Yeah.
than it is to consider what reactions might be, because obviously you're operating from a place of love anyways, so you
100%.
know that nothing that's going to come from your yes is going to be something to hurt anybody, so
No.
that's not a question. It's like, well, am I going to offend somebody? That's not, if you're coming from a place of love, that isn't what's going to come out.
Yeah.
So it just, I say that only with the caution that if you haven't been in this space yet, then you might be thinking that, like, well, you have to be thinking about what everybody, am I going to offend this person? Is what I'm going to do be,
See,
yeah,
that's part of what you're talking about now. Like, am I going to offend them? And
yes,
all
take
these
it.
like anxious kind of forecasts into the future about things that haven't even happened.
Hmm.
We can't be in the moment and be in our heart and have those and be thinking those things. Like if you're in
Exactly.
your heart, you have to be listening to your heart. You can't be listening to your
Exactly.
head. So you pick. And I choose my heart every time. I lived in my head for long enough. I did it as a kid, I was there. And then when I
Yep.
came out, I realized there was a whole other world that felt more welcoming. I felt more like myself being able to just be than
Yes.
when I was in my head trying to calculate what I should and shouldn't do and shouldn't say and what was acceptable and what wasn't, right? So at this point, and we can talk about the how later because it's important because I didn't just go from locked up in my head and thoughts spinning around and worried about what everyone thought about me to
To
just completely
boom.
free and open
Free.
and ready just to say, hey, baby, what's up? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, so it was a journey and there was disappointments and there were missed opportunities. And specifically, I have a kind of a unique kind of attraction factor in myself. So if that big yes isn't there, it's likely if it well, let's speak about if it is. If it is, usually we'll at least be great friends. Like there's something intuitive and energetically true about my big yeses that every time I've had it, I've either been good friends with them or I fell in love the one time. Right. So I know how important that yes is because it's the
Hmm.
truth for me.
Right.
And so if I don't honor that, then I missed opportunities to have my soul satisfied in this lifetime. So that's how important it is for me to say yes to my yes. Right?
Yes.
I don't have leeway to play around and say, heart, not today.
Not today.
Because otherwise I will miss out on opportunities to have
On
really
opportunities that you're not even forethinking what the opportunity is. It's not, if that isn't the purpose for the yes. The purpose of the yes is to be out with it, and then whatever opportunity happens. It's not like yeah, it's not like a preset, because I think I've spent a lot of time thinking. Uh, and I laugh about this one because I play a game in my own head, right? Where
Mhm,
I think I know how I'm going to run the show.
mhm.
I think how I know if I'm going to say this, how it's all going to play out. Because again, that's all in your head, right? That when I say this, these are the things that's going to fall into place.
Right.
And you know what? They have no idea how it's going to play out. You don't have a crystal ball. The only thing you know is what you just said. The only thing you know is that you have a real strong yes, and that
Yes,
needs to be expressed, and that has to be out. And then whatever comes of that
right.
is what it is that you get from it. It's
So the missed opportunity that I see that is the glaring one is the missed experience of
yeah, there you go. That's
the
it.
wholeness of yourself
Hmm.
being in this new experience.
Hmm.
It's of it's of the potential of the kind of connectivity which we all seek. We seek to have connection. It's those connections that we won't experience because we
Hmm.
don't we do everything for experience. That's what we want. We want to feel something. There's some
Well, that's how we
experience
grow.
that we want to have. That's why we do
Hmm.
anything we do,
Hmm.
right?
It's how we grow. Experience after experience after experience are all the things that we learn along the way, how we adapt to the experience and what the experience shows us.
So that's why action is so important because if you're not in action, then you're in your head.
Totally.
And it's all potential. And potential is not guaranteed to be expressed. It's still potential
Mm,
until it's ignited and it's
I
put into
love this
motion.
conversation. I love this conversation.
So we've talked about the what now. So we get that that a lot of people can probably relate to being in their head and not being fully expressed in every
Mm,
interaction. So either walking away from a conversation with still having thoughts going around, thinking things that you should have said or wanted to say, or being upset and resentful because something didn't get completed for you in that conversation, right? So
mm,
that's a real common one that I hear and that I know that happens. Um,
right.
but also, just sitting in an audience and an opportunity to go up on stage. Anytime you've had a spark in your heart and then you slammed on the emergency brake, then you've done piled on another layer of traumatic experience on top of and more resistance on top of and more fear on top of your brilliant freedom of expression, right?
And you
And so
usually know it. Like you know
now
it, you
you
feel
feel it.
it.
And you feel usually you feel bad, not even about not doing the thing, but slamming the brakes and not allowing yourself to feel the freedom of movement into action when you felt the heart spark.
If you've ever been that way or ever felt that, go ahead and let us know. But yes, I'm raising my hand to that one.
So, what I would love is for us to do, this together, is to begin to heartfully move in the direction of our freedom
Mm,
every day. And so, perhaps it's something very small that, and I believe that spiritual beings, nothing we do is small. Everything matters. Everything has ripples. The butterfly wings, the tsunami, you know. So, everything matters. And so every thought, literally, and I mean that literally and figuratively, everything we think eventually becomes matter. So everything matters. Our thoughts matter, our emotions matter. And so if you have something that happens in your heart where you have an idea and you get excited and you feel happy, and maybe it's that you want to call someone, maybe it's that you want to apologize, maybe it's that you want to ask someone out, maybe it's that you want to do something physical like learn an instrument, or if you want to go skydiving or whatever it is. If there's something that you've stopped yourself from doing because you're afraid, take a look at it.
mm.
Take a look at the resistance that you have around it. Have you made excuses for not doing it? Have you decided, oh, I'm not going to do this because I'm older now, I have kids now, I have this now? Because I guarantee you, what from my experience is the only experience I can speak from, that and that which I've experienced coaching many people,
Right.
and the kind of their feedback as well, is that the thing that we get on our heart is the thing that will add the most value and impact to our lives, and thus also the lives of every other person we come in contact with. It's the thing that is the linchpin, is the next thing that we need. And so, and whether it's the ripples that we can't see, right? So
Yeah.
it's the spark in your heart that you get to just, you know what, I'm going to make a left here instead of going my normal route home, and then you
Mhm.
end up, passing a man standing on the side of the road selling roses, and you have some kind of magical interaction with them that changes his life forever that you don't even know about, right? It's
Right.
We get directed, we get messages in our heart, right? So
Mhm.
literally courage, right? Courage, we break it down. Core, Coeur, I believe it's spelled in French, means heart. So
Mhm.
courage, the word courage, right? Core. Now I believe our heart is the core of us. Our heart is also the place where we get messages from on high. And it's the thing that if we listen to it, we are never led astray, right?
Mhm.
And it's also where we have the pain when we feel the most depth of emotion, right? We have pain here when it's to do with things that we're really passionate about, things that we really love, and so this is a center, right? And so I really love words, right? So when we are not fully expressed, we lock our heart in a cage, right?
Mm.
And so it's up to us to release our heart from the cage. And I believe that when we don't listen to it, it rages back at us. Courage, right? It rages back when we don't let it run free. And so we develop diseases, we have heart attacks, we have, when we're stressed out, we have, that's the first thing, right? Monday mornings, I believe, before 8 a.m. is like the hottest time for the most heart attacks that happen in the world happen on Monday mornings before work,
Yeah.
because people don't want to go to work, literally are stressed out, don't want to go to work, don't like their jobs because they've chosen to follow their head in their line of work instead of their heart.
Right.
So I don't believe in
Right.
coincidences, you know.
Right.
So um, so let's just talk about that for 1 second. Let's say, okay, let's commit to this week picking one thing that we know that we've stifled ourselves
Mhm.
about. Whether you can pick the thing, and just at the very least, you're going to examine the fear that you have around it. Look at whether or not you've made up excuses or reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't do it, say it, be it, experience it. And then ask yourself the question, like literally ask your heart, do you want to do this? And listen close. And then you decide whether or not you want to do it.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. Whether you're going to follow your heart, because it will tell you, it will literally, sometimes you'll actually get a jump right in your chest. It'll be like, oh, I can peck pop. I can peck pop. Yeah. That's my left one too.
I love that.
So, okay, so literally you will get an answer, and sometimes if you're not as kinesthetic, like into body, then
Yep.
you'll get it in a dream, or you'll get it in when you wake up as a thought, or you'll see it as like a sign, like kind of punch buggy. You start to see it everywhere. You'll still see
Right.
signs. They'll be sent to you. So let's just leave it there, because I think stepping out and being courageous, is something that if you do it more and more, it becomes easier to do.
It's true.
I didn't say it's easy, but it
Mm-mm.
becomes easier because you become more accustomed to being uncomfortable. So what I've been doing, and I've done this periodically in my life, is I'll take I'll take a shower. I love really hot water, but then I'll at the end rinse off with really cool water, just to not get so stuck in a very small spectrum of sensation that I am okay with. Right. So I'm sure there are other health benefits, and I know I've read many health benefits to having, that heat and cold kind of um, ebb and flow, in your body, and it's good for metabolism. It's good for your skin. It's good for your hormones. But I don't do it for those reasons. I do it primarily because I want to have an expansive spectrum of sensation in which I am able to experience and feel good.
Right.
Right. So I live in Florida. So it's, darn near 80 degrees or hotter almost every day. We've actually had some really great lower temperatures recently, which I've really been loving, because then when I would normally put a jacket on to go outside, if it was like below 70, I wouldn't wear a jacket, and I would just feel the wind on my arms and just
Hmm.
let the world touch me, and let nature touch me, and instead of always protecting myself against it.
Hmm.
And I tell you that anything you do in any area of your life doesn't just stay there. It spreads to all the areas of your life. So when you begin to expand your willingness to be uncomfortable in one area, it definitely will bleed and into and expand your ability to be uncomfortable in others. So find your entry point. Find your entry point. So do this one thing. Find your thing that that you've stopped doing, or that you've had this inkling of wanting to do, and you kept putting it off, or you have reasons why you haven't
Hmm.
done it. Whatever it is, find it. Ask yourself the question. Look and see if what's around it are the reasons and excuses and such. Even if you look hard enough, look closely enough, you'll be able to see like threads of influence, how this decision to not do this thing has limited you in other areas of your life. The people that you come in contact with, the choices, the chances, all the little things
It's a
that,
great exercise.
right? Huh?
It's a great exercise.
Yes. So take a look, and then sit quietly and go inside and ask your heart. You can even say, "Heart, do you want to do this?" And listen. And whether the response comes immediately, physically, or a sensation, or a thought, or a yes, a big yes in your chest, or if it comes in a dream, or if it gets sent to you in the world as you move and breathe, it'll come.
I like it.
Okay.
I
All
like
right.
that.
So it was wonderful being with you, as always, Nancy. And we're looking forward to launching our free 5-day lifestyle jumpstart coming up really soon. So if you're looking to build momentum into a healthier lifestyle, we have a 5-day jumpstart absolutely free coming to you, where we'll lead you through a series of very simple steps to take to expand your lifestyle and move it in the direction of the most healthy and serving it can be for you. Um, and I think that's all the news we have today, right?
That is all the news we have today, but it's coming soon, so we want to make sure that your ears are perked up about it, and you take advantage of it for your own self. We'd
Yeah.
love to see it.
Well, I want to say that you are more than just enough. You are,
Mm,
and sometimes we have a difficulty really believing we're enough, but you're more than just enough. You are necessary to the unfoldment of the cosmos. We love you. The world needs your genius. I hope you'll choose to live as big as you were designed.
150,000%. And you're amazingly made. There's no one in the world, on the earth, or in the universe, or anywhere in creation made just like you, except you. So you get to design whatever the heck that is. You get to have fun with that. You get to be brave with it. You get to be all the things you want to get to be. So do it, and reach out to us. Join us in the 5-day thing. And we are here.
I need to work on my heart.
I know. I'm getting better at them. How's that one?
You're in the camera. It's wow. It's like a kaleidoscope. Wow. Wow.
It's an abstract. So
All
we'll see
right.
you back here next week. I think, right? Next Sunday. Same
Next
thing.
Sunday, same bad channel. Pow.
Power cat. Over and out.
Bye.